this is Laura Geis. Welcome back to the God Success Secrets video series. This is week 24 and our success secret for this week is find a mentor. Now last week we talked about picking partners to hold us accountable, to motivate us. And this week I want to kind of stay on that theme but talk a little more about mentors. Now a mentor in my mind is a little bit different from a partner because a mentor is someone who has already accomplished whatever it is that you're trying to accomplish. So if you want to lose weight, it's someone who's already lost weight. If you want to start your own business, it's someone who's already done that. If you want to have a healthy marriage, it's someone who already has a healthy marriage. So it's someone who's already experienced what it is that you want to experience, and they've been very successful at it. And as a mentor, they're going to kind of coach you into how you can manifest that thing in your life. Now, when I was a little girl, one thing that I really wanted to learn to do was to sew. Now, I know you'll find this hard to believe, but my mother used to sew all of my clothes. I don't remember ever going in a store to buy clothes when I was a young girl. She sewed my pajamas, my school clothes, dresses, everything my mother made for me. And I really wanted to learn how to sew. So I asked Mom, will you teach me how to sew? And she sat me down, and the first thing we started with was threading the sewing machine. Now, it didn't take us long to realize that this relationship wasn't going to work too well. While my mother was way more accomplished as a seamstress than I was, she also was very frustrated with me because I was very slow. I tangled the thread and I'd forget to put it through this loop and that, and it was a mess, and we just ended up at each other's throats. So I still wanted to learn to sew, so I needed to choose another mentor. Now my mother had a sister, my Aunt Meredith. She's one of my favorite people in the whole world, and she was a great seamstress. Her quilts were on display at the state fair and all of that. And when I got married, I decided I wanted to make a quilt. So who did I turn to but my Aunt Meredith? And I tell you, I brought with me the quilt she actually helped me make. Here it is. You can't see all of it, of course. Big king-size quilt, and we made the pillow shams and everything. And I have to tell you, while I learned a lot working with her about sewing, she probably did most of the work. She's just excellent. But when I was a little girl, and the first sewing lesson she gave me was to sew a pillow. You know, it's just 4 straight seams, so it wasn't too hard. So we put this pillow together, and then I sewed buttons on it, and the buttons spelled out the letters M.W. Those were my aunt's initials, Meredith Wilson. And for Christmas one year, I gave my aunt this pillow, which she had mostly made, but I was so proud of it. And it wasn't just a few years ago, my aunt was diagnosed with a tumor on her lung, and it was inoperable. So we knew we weren't going to have her around much longer. And she was going through some things, and she found that pillow that I had made her so many years ago, and she thought, you know, my kids are just going to throw this away thinking it's a piece of junk, and she gave me that pillow. And so I display that pillow under my Christmas tree every year. And so she was my mentor to teach me how to sew. Now our verse for today comes from 2 Timothy chapter 2 verse 2, and if you remember, Timothy had a great mentor in Paul. And Timothy writes, "And the things you have heard me say in the presence of many witnesses, entrust to reliable men who will be qualified to teach others." So I'm asking you today, what skill is it that you want to learn? What is it that you're trying to accomplish? And who is there already in your life, or who could you find who has already done that successfully? I'm in the middle of writing a book, and one of the most successful authors out there is Jack Canfield, who wrote the Chicken Soup for the Soul series. So guess what? I signed up for a conference with Jack Canfield where he was sharing all his book writing ideas. I actually got to meet him and shake his hand, have my picture taken with him. But I needed a mentor because I don't know anything about being an author, but he does, and he's done it successfully. So I sought him out. It doesn't have to be someone that you know personally. I know that for people who are starting a business, a lot of times there are organizations of retired business people who they would just love to give you some advice, and a lot of times it's free advice. So find some kind of mentor. I know even in my husband's business, he's in a buying group, and when he has a question about, how do you handle these service agreements, or how do you handle this issue with an employee, he'll often call one of the guys, another guy who has a store, and ask, how do you deal with this? So they mentor one another. So in your journal this week, brainstorm. Last week we chose some accountability partners. This week, really think about who is it who would be the perfect mentor for you, who has already accomplished what it is that you want to accomplish, and then how do you develop a relationship with that person so that mentorship will happen. So ask someone who's already been where you want to be if they would be willing to mentor you. And don't be afraid to approach someone about being your mentor. I know if I see someone out on the street and they're wearing a cute pair of shoes that I like, I'm not afraid to say, hey, where did you get those shoes? If you see someone that's having success in an area where you'd like to have success, don't be afraid to ask their advice. And 9 times out of 10, they'll be happy to share with you. So this week's success secret is find a mentor. I'll see you next time.